part of our lives. It's something we interact with every single day, whether we're deciding what we're gonna eat, what restaurant we're gonna try, or what we're doing for our next meal. But the thing is that a lot of people don't have the best relationship with it. So on today's video, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna dive into the 3 biggest mindset shifts that you can make so that you can start having a more empowered and loving relationship with food. The reason this is really important to me is because it has been a big part of my own journey. I have definitely struggled in my relationship with food in the past, and I have a whole podcast episode where I dive into my journey. If you're interested in hearing that, I will link it in the description. My own struggles are a big reason why I show up online in the first place, to create wellness content and to talk about these things. So I hope this video leaves you with some food for thought and helps you think about food in a new way that makes you glow from the inside out and feel your best. So with all of that said, let's dive into the video, starting out with point number 1. The first thing that we're gonna dive into is the fact that we as a society tend to carry a lot of labels around food. We hear people call food good or bad, and also a lot of people think of food as a number, just as calories. That really gets in the way of you building a healthy relationship with food. For most people, when you think of food as good or bad, what ends up happening is if you eat a bad food, you end up thinking of yourself as a bad person. And so your food choices become judgments on your own morality. And how could that possibly lead for you to have a positive relationship with something that's so essential in your life? So the mindset shift here is realizing that food is fuel. It is something that nourishes your body and that gives you energy. And you need energy to survive and to live life and to get things done, to move your body. Therefore, it is something to be grateful for. When I think of food this way, it motivates me to make healthier food choices, like eating foods that give me nutrients and protein and vitamins, because I know that that is going to give me great energy, and it's going to make me feel satiated, and it's gonna make me feel good as I go on with my day. But at the same time, food isn't only fuel. It's also a source of joy and connection in your life. It's important to realize that you are worthy of connection. You are worthy of fun. You wanna be able to say yes to experiences. You wanna be able to say yes to trying new things. So it's not only about just being so strict and cutting everything out and being on the extreme of I only eat healthy because it's my nourishment and it's my fuel. No, it's also about I also wanna be able to live life. I wanna have that freedom. And so start seeing food as both of those things. It's both fuel and nourishment for your body, but at the same time, something that allows you to connect with other people and to have new experiences and to have fun. Now, the second thing that can really get in the way of you developing a positive relationship with food is having an all or nothing mindset. It's black and white thinking, either overdoing it on something or completely restricting yourself and having no in between. That isn't healthy. In my own journey, I have definitely struggled with extremes, and what I've pinpointed as the root cause for why I fall to this all or nothing is seeking perfection. The thing about being a perfectionist is that it inevitably causes you to put so much pressure on yourself on all these things you have to do, all these things you have to check off. But then if you miss a day, or if you mess up, or if you do something that in your brain you don't classify as being perfect, most of the time you just drop it and you're like, well, if I can't do it perfectly, why even try? We're done with that in 2023. We're done with that mindset because it's not gonna get you to where you wanna go. It's only gonna cause you to fall to this all or nothing. And I've said this before, having an all or nothing mindset is literally the opposite of balance. And what you have to understand is that when you restrict something from your life, when you cut something out completely, you're gonna end up thinking about that thing way more, which sounds contradictory, but it's what happens. If I tell you, don't think about a blue elephant, what did you just think about? A blue elephant. That's just how our brain works. And also what ends up happening is you end up having a lack mindset around that food that you're cutting out from your life. You tell yourself that you're not allowed to have something, you're never allowed to have a certain food. The moment that you allow yourself to have it, what happens? You end up overeating on that food because you don't know the next time that you're gonna allow yourself to break this rule or to eat this food. And then you overindulge and you overgorge on it, and then you feel really bad. And that guilt and that shame once again causes you to fall back into a negative relationship with food. Now on the other hand, if you incorporate moderation and you tell yourself you're allowed to have that food whenever you want, you're going to be less inclined to overeat that food because you can have it whenever. If you can have it today or tomorrow or the day after, why would you need to overeat it today? Because you have this abundance mindset. You know that you're able to eat it whenever. And not overdoing things, not going overboard and triggering this mental spiral is going to help you cultivate a way better relationship with your body and with food. So the less restrictions that you impose on yourself, the less likely you are to go overboard or to overeat or to overindulge, to do all these things that you at the end of the day don't really want to do. You don't want to feel out of control. So at the end of the day, one of the most important things that you have to do in order to cultivate a positive relationship with food and your body is finding balance and moderation. And in order to do that, it's essential that you release this need to be perfect and you release an all or nothing approach to food. You release these restrictions and you allow yourself to say yes to a variety of different things. Tune out the noise around you, tune out the extremes that you see in other people, and figure out the right middle ground for you. If you're enjoying the video so far, remember to subscribe so we can be good friends. Now the next thing that can really get in your way when you're trying to develop a positive relationship with food is fear. Maybe you're afraid of certain foods because diet culture made you think that they were fattening or they were bad for you, and now you carry all these internalized labels around certain foods, and if you feel like eating one of them or you want to eat one of them, it creates this whole fear spiral in your brain. Or you are afraid of eating certain foods because you're afraid of gaining weight, and you're afraid of gaining weight because you're afraid of not being loved or not being lovable. Maybe you grew up around certain family members or friends who said certain things about food and about weight that you have internalized. I'm Brazilian and part Chilean, and in Latin American cultures, it is very normalized for family members to comment on other people's bodies, to comment on other people's food choices and on how they look like. And it can be very, very toxic. And so if you grew up around people like this, who comment on other people's weights, food choices, and bodies, you might be afraid of gaining weight, or you might be afraid of certain foods because you're afraid of judgment, and you're afraid of people who love you not loving you as much, or not admiring you as much, or not being as proud of you. Ultimately, you're afraid of them talking badly about you behind your back or to your face. What you have to realize is that these comments that other people make are a result of the things that they heard and they learned and they internalized throughout their life, and they're just projecting that on you. It says more about them than it says about you, and you have the ability and the option of choosing not to carry these limited beliefs and judgments going forwards. Now the tricky part is that it's very possible that the voice and the comments of your parents, your family members, the people around you, the judgments that they impose has become your own inner critic's voice, and you have to learn how to separate your inner critic's voice, which causes you to feel judged and who creates these fear spirals within you, from your authentic and true voice, and the voice of your loving and healed self that you want to embody going forwards. And so the mindset shift here that you need to incorporate in order to improve your relationship with your body and with food is to choose love instead of fear. If you try to make changes in your life and you're coming from a place of self-hatred, of self-judgment, of fear, that is not going to last. You're always going to get in your own way. And I say this because I have been there. Trust me, I have tried to make changes out of guilting myself, shaming myself, and being really mean to myself, and none of those changes stuck around. The changes that have truly made an impact in my life and have stayed for the long run were changes that I made out of loving myself and wanting the best for me. Be aware of your inner critic and be aware of that ego that's gonna keep trying to pull you back to that old version of you, keeping you in a loop of being mean to yourself and of doing things because you're ashamed and guilty. You have to be really aware of that voice, and you have to consciously release it every time that it comes up, and consciously release the fear, and instead make choices and make decisions in your life because they feel really good and because you want the best for you. And there's still gonna be people around you who have these diet culture thoughts, who have these limited beliefs, who have this approach to food that is not healthy. Those people are still gonna be there and they're still gonna trigger you. But those trigger moments, when you notice them, when you get defensive and annoyed and frustrated by these people, that is your opportunity to choose love, to choose the next level version of you, to choose an evolved relationship with food, and to be the bigger person. You don't have to let their limited beliefs and thoughts and words become your own. You can create your own, and you can come from a place of love when you do that. So to quickly summarize what we've talked about, the 3 biggest shifts you need to make into your life to improve your relationship with food is 1, release labels around food and start seeing it as both fuel and a source of fun and joy and connection in your life, and remember that you are worthy of those things. Number 2, you have to release an all or nothing mindset and you have to stop trying to be perfect and instead find your balance point. Start incorporating moderation and allowing yourself to break free from restriction so that when you do eat certain foods, you don't overdo it, you don't trigger shame spirals, you don't feel guilty, and instead you just feel more neutral and you feel more at peace with your choices. And number 3, you have to release fear and you have to choose love. You have to be real with yourself. You have to realize the things that you're afraid of, whether that's a certain food, gaining weight, or whether it's really just being judged and not being lovable. Start being mindful of your inner critic, and instead of making choices out of hating yourself, you have to make choices out of choosing the best for you because you love yourself. Before we close out the video, I wanted to just make 2 very quick ending comments. The first one is a little bit more woo-woo, but it's something that has really helped me in my relationship with my body, and that is to see my body as my vessel. I really believe that we all have something about us that is more energetic, it's more ethereal. I really believe that we all have a soul, and that soul is our essence. It's who we truly are. It's our personality. It's what makes us us. And our body is what allows our soul to live a human life, to experience the world, to try new things, and our body's always on our side. Our body's always doing so much for us, and so it's really important to come from a place of gratitude. Be on your body's side because it's already on yours. The second thing is that we are all so different. Bioindividuality is real. We all have different genetics, we all grew up different, we have different workout routines and jobs and schedules and lifestyles. And so what works for me might not work for you, and what works for someone else might not work for you. And so you have to really detach from what everyone else is doing and find what works for you. That's gonna take some exploration, that's gonna take some patience. But it really comes down to getting to know yourself, realizing what foods work best for your body, what choices are the ones that you wanna make. So catch yourself when you fall to comparison and when you start getting into this loophole of what is everyone else doing, and tune back into what's best for you. I really hope that this video resonated with you guys. If it did help you guys, definitely let me know in the comments. Let me know what you're leaving this video thinking about. I want to talk to you guys about this. I'm here for you, and I hope my channel can be a safe space for you to find a more peaceful and loving relationship with food and your body. Remember to subscribe so we can be YouTube friends. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video.